Hello everybody, this is the tree I'm going to be working on today, one of my larger trees, and as you can see I put a drinks can there just for scale. It's an interesting tree. I've had it a long time. When I first had this tree it was kind of pencil thick little thing, and well, as you can see it's no longer pencil thick. Let's just move in a little closer and show you perhaps some of the more interesting characteristics down here at the base. I'll move that drinks can out of the way. As you can see, it breaks an awful lot of the rules of bonsai, the standard rules of bonsai. It was in fact the first tree I ever featured when I began my YouTube channel. And I think the video was entitled Bonsai That Shouldn't Be, or some such conceit as that, because I knew that it didn't fit in with the classical model of a Nibari, and I really wasn't sure what I was doing with it was the right thing to be doing, and I received some really good advice, which included turning it into a kind of windswept tree, or air layering it at this point and creating two trees. I didn't like the windswept idea, and I didn't feel terribly confident that I'd be able to air layer it successfully either. So I did neither of those things. As you can see, it's still growing in a more of a kind of a broom style tree. I just have become less in love with the classical styles of bonsai, and more about trees as I want to see them and as I actually see them as I'm wandering around the fields and the woodlands. This tree was much more upright in its branching, and I think I'll actually stop the video here and insert a picture. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so if I've edited this properly, you should have just seen a photo from 2015 of this tree, when, as I said, it had a much more upright habit. And since that time, instead of taking the advice offered, i.e. turning this into a windswept or air layering it, which, as I say, I didn't feel confident in doing, I decided that I was just going to change the form. So these are the branches that were straight up back then, and now achieved more of a weeping habit, which I did through guy wires and just gradually tightened them down. I attached a length of wire to sort of this point here and to the base of the tree, and then just gradually cranked that wire shorter week upon week over the last few years, until I achieved a very different form. As you can see, possibly, I know there's so much foliage it's quite difficult for you to see, but one of the branches is still has a guy wire on it, which we'll look at later. So what am I going to do with this? Well, first of all, what is this? This is in fact a large-leaved lime, and I know it's a large-leaved lime. It can be difficult to tell apart between a small-leaved lime and a large-leaved lime and a common lime, but according to the Woodland Trust Tree ID app and guide, one of the ways you can tell between a large leaf lime and a small leaf lime is that the shoots in the sun on a large leaf lime will be red, and those that are in the shade, or those parts that are shaded, will be a grey-green colour, which is difficult for you to see, I guess, but is exactly what it is with this tree. Whereas the small leaf lime, that isn't the case. So I also know that these leaves were initially much bigger when I had this tree. So I'm actually planning to cut back some of these really long, strong growths, and leave some of the shorter, feebler ones short. And I'm going to do defoliation on this tree in order to try and shrink the leaves a little bit more this season and to gain some more ramification. It's not so difficult on a species like this. Someone did comment on my Chinese elm video recently that I could do a partial leaf foliation, but it's quite fiddly with small leaves and time consuming when you've got a lot of trees. So I'm going to take some of these long shoots that are facing in entirely the wrong direction, and in fact, because this is going to come back and cross the trunk, I'm going to take it off in its entirety, like so. And obviously pieces like this that are growing downwards, I'm going to reduce. I'm going to reduce this back to one bud which is facing outward. You probably can't see what I'm doing for all the leaves. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just defoliate this tree before I do any more cutting back, and then perhaps you'll be able to see what I'm doing. If you'll bear with me a minute, I'm going to go and get a bucket to put all the leaves in so they're not just blowing around under my feet. Okay, so I've got me a bucket and I'll start putting the leaves and things in the bucket, and I'm just going to go around. Normally I was just doing this for myself, and I have done a few other trees already this month off camera. I would do the pruning back first, because obviously that leaves, every time you cut a branch off you don't have to cut all the individual leaves off, but yeah, I want to do this so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So save you watching me cut all these leaves off, which will get very tedious for you. I'll either cut this bit out, or maybe we'll go double time and speed it up. As you can see, some of the inner leaves were quite densely shaded out, so they are quite anemic looking and in fact starting to die off. So anyway, I think you can see where I'm going with this. I'm going to turn the camera off and defoliate the rest now and then come back. Okay, so we're getting near the end now. Cooper's decided to come and keep me company for a little bit. He has his waiting face on, which that's the waiting face, isn't it? Yes. Waiting means I'm being a good dog. You really should come and give me some attention before I do something to get your attention that you won't like. Bless him. He's very good. He's not, I shouldn't say this, but he's never touched one of my trees yet. So even though he's as fond of chasing a stick as the next dog, you might not want to get your nose too close to these scissors though, Coopsy. No, I'm right. As you can see, I have pretty much fully defoliated this tree. I was only going to do a partial defoliation, but it's actually quite meditative doing this, and I got a bit carried away, if I'm honest, listening to the bird song and the slight movement of the trees around with the wind, and it's just almost mesmerising, just clipping away and clipping away. No, you're a good boy. I'm nearly done, Cooper D. I'm nearly done. Mind your head. Look out. Coming to get you. It's gotcha. Huh. This is what makes Cooper the naggiest dog. This is what gives him, unlike other dogs who might, scratch at a door or bark and run about, when he wants something, he just gives me the eye. And I usually know what he wants, because it's usually let's go outside if we're inside, it's let's play ball if we're outside, or around about this time of day he's probably thinking we ought to go and share some lunch. Lunch? Is that what you're thinking? It is getting on for lunchtime, and he just sits and stares at you and makes you feel guilty. Is that tree bothering you? Poking you in the top of the head? Almost there. Okay, so let's move the camera off the dog, gorgeous though he is, back onto the tree. Missed a few leaves there. Okay, so now, as you can see, I hope now, these areas that were in the shade are this grey-green colour, whereas the areas that were out into the sun turn this red, and that's what indicates that it's a large-leaved lime rather than a common lime or a small-leaved lime. And as you can see, the branches are in a much different plane than they were in that original photo. Let's find the front again. So there's the front, which is as you would have seen it in the photo. I'm going to have to move the camera back so you can get it all in. Are you still waiting? You are. You're a good boy. Yeah, so as you can see, this branch was straight up, and the back branch and this branch was straight up. Bit of splitting in the bark there where the bend went, and some of the branches were shortened some more. And all in all, I'm just glad I kept it the way it is. I remember when I first got into bonsai 30 years ago probably, and you know, long before I really got into it seriously, but reading in a book that if you were to miniaturize that beautiful oak tree in the field and put it into a pot, it would make a poor bonsai, because real trees didn't make good bonsai. And what I've come to realize over the years since then, and recently, especially more in the last 4 or 5 years, is that not all trees have to look like a bonsai tree. It's okay to have trees in your collection that don't look like a bonsai tree. This one doesn't look like a bonsai tree. It's certainly not a classic bonsai by any stretch of the imagination, but I love it. I'm really pleased with this tree, and I'm glad I've kept it alive. There's 20 something years, at least 20, probably at least 25. It's probably as old, or I've had it as long as the Chinese elm. In fact, I know I said in the Chinese elm one that it was the longest I've kept a tree alive. If this isn't a close second, it might even be a first, I'm not sure. So anyway, rabbiting on, I do believe that you can have trees that look like trees and don't look like bonsai, and that's what I hope I've achieved with this tree. So what am I going to do with it now I've done all that? Well, I've got some really short pieces which I'm going to leave and allow to grow. They were well shaded out, and these other pieces I'm going to just cut back. For example, here let me just zoom in on that. I'm going to zoom into there. That's about as far as the camera's going to let me. To have a nice plump outward facing bud. So I'm just going to take that off there. Similarly with this piece. Yeah, just going to take that back to there. Going to just shorten that thin one a little. And that one. This one I'm going to shorten back to there. And so on, just going around, cutting back to in some cases just one bud. Some of these small pieces I'm just going to leave. So this one inside here I'm going to leave. I'm going to cut that one back. Let me put the camera up. I have a branch that is going in the right direction there, which I'm going to leave. This one is in danger of crossing. I'm going to cut that one back shorter. Some of this really fine stuff is quite nice to keep. Some of it isn't, so I shall just make a selection as I go round. Obviously this really tall stuff I'm going to prune back. This piece is coming directly towards the viewer, so I'm going to cut that there, and hopefully it'll shoot from this bud and come out in this direction a bit more. Lose that one, shorten that one. This, to all intents, you could call it the leader. I'm gonna just cut back to there, like so. Anything crossing these two perilously close to crossing. Let's shorten that one to there, and I'm going to shorten this one right back to there. Just working my way around. Trying to directionally prune branches to where I want them. This one maybe sort of has just grown in the wrong direction, going down like this, but I actually quite like that. So I'm actually going to prune that one back to here, and then maybe it'll form a bit of a crown in this area in the future. I can always cut it back here if I don't like it come the sort of spring tidy up time. Don't like that straight piece that's going straight up. Two pieces there going in the same direction. Keep one a bit longer, shorten the other one. Okay, so that's more or less it. This one right at the very top there. Yeah, I think that's probably enough for this one today. I've got a piece growing directly from the base of this branch, which I'm going to remove. And other than that, I'm really quite pleased with the crown of this tree. Got some interesting hollows down below, which they're healing over gradually, rotting out. I almost feel like you need a miniature owl poking out of that one, but never mind. That's just me being a bit strange, I think. That might be a step too far, or not. So yeah, so let me see if I can give you a better view of the whole structure. this is the front, as I say. I know in bonsai circles in Japan, it's considered only the very, very best trees, you know, the ultimate trees get a name. But here in the UK, at least, we're very fond of naming things. My first motorbike was called Betsy, for example. And yeah, we're very fond of naming things, and I've named this tree the Sphinx. It just reminds me, that portion reminds me of the body of the Sphinx, and then obviously you've got the head in this area. If I can give you a quick 360 degrees. I have some buds pushing down here, which I'm just going to rub off because I don't really want any further growth from this area. This is the sort of back side of the tree. Again, just some buds there which I will brush off. And yeah, big old trunk on there. Breaks a lot of the rules. This obviously, you can see the guy wire here that I'm using to hold this piece down. Likewise, this piece was straight up into the air in that old photo. I think I've improved it in no end. I'm certainly much happier with it now than I was then, and as I say, I'm more comfortable with the idea of trees looking like trees and not like bonsai. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all for now. Thank you all for watching as always, and please take care of yourselves. I know I said that was all for now, but sat next to the incinerator waiting for his lunch, I think. Lunch, Cooper? Want some lunch? We're going to go and get some lunch. Take care of yourselves, everybody.